Now, 2 years ago, Ealing became the first place in the country to ban demonstrations outside abortion clinics. Now the area's MP, Rupa Huq, is taking this issue to Westminster, trying to make it law. It comes as campaign group 40 Days for Life are in the middle of 40 days of protest outside abortion clinics nationwide. Helen Drew has the details.
Outside a central London abortion clinic this week.
Good morning. We're from the BBC.
A common sight.
I'm just here to pray and to offer help.
People standing by the entrance, hoping to catch pregnant women on the way in and change their minds. Inside, this senior nurse says some women come in feeling harassed.
You know, to be met by protesters before they even enter the building, they end up coming in through the door crying, feeling guilty, feeling ambivalent, feeling very ashamed. These protesters do not know the circumstances that bring women to our clinics. There's domestic violence, there's rape, there's child sexual exploitation, all of that which we capture here when we do our safeguarding assessments. So they have no right to really walk up to women and throw rosaries and leaflets at them without even having the knowledge of that background.
Over in Ealing, there used to be protests like this until 2018. The local council brought in a buffer zone, preventing protesters, regardless of beliefs, from gathering close to the clinic.
The MP for Ealing would like that rule to be extended across all of England and Wales, a law preventing demonstrations within 150 metres of any abortion clinic. So that would mean people wouldn't be able to stand here to hand out flyers. They would have to move roughly this far away, or risk a fine or even prosecution.
Rupa Huq's proposal is due to be heard in Parliament next month.
I think we need to have a proper process that's fair, that every woman in this country who needs to have a termination can do so without being in fear of people thrusting rosary beads in their face and calling them a murderer. With any other medical procedure, you do it in anonymity, and something like pregnancy in particular, quite often it doesn't show, you don't tell people. It's a very intensely private thing. Their whole game is really to shame people.
But one campaigner says it's essential they're right outside.
Everyone should be worried about this. It's a huge curtailment of freedom of speech to not be able to inform women about abortion at all, even if they come to you and want that information, is something everybody should be concerned about. I think this bill seeks to criminalise people and give them possible 6 months in jail for offering to inform about abortion.
While we were together, Claire called someone whose mind they changed in Ealing and now has a son.
So I read the leaflet and I started crying because from my heart I don't want this pregnancy to be terminated, because the reason was my financial difficulties, and they showed me like whatever I am going to need for the baby, they're going to provide me everything.
Walking into an abortion clinic has been legal in England since the 1960s. But the debate continues and divides like no other.
Andrew, what's your view on this bill?
Many Londoners have had to take that decision, very serious decision, that will determine whether or not somebody lives or dies, about loved ones. And when you take that decision, you want to be sure that you know all the options, that you know both sides of the argument before that decision is taken. And what these protesters are doing are showing that there is an alternative. Nobody's making those women make any different decision at all. They are coming from a position of love for human life, and to ban that, to ban love within 150 metres of a clinic, not only goes against...
It's not always love, though, is it? There can be intimidatory,
Yes.
there can be aggressive tactics.
I would like to hear about those instances of where that took place, because there are existing laws to prevent harassment, obscene publications, and all those. They're in place, and that should not happen. Nobody should have to go through that. But to ban people from showing an alternate way, when the worst possible outcome of their activity might be that a child lives that otherwise would not live,
Well,
I
that's
think
your
is
view. Yeah.
outrageous,
Okay.
quite frankly.
Stella?
It's about the appropriate place and time for people to put forward their views. I am somebody who is strongly pro-choice. I don't think these people are pro-life. They're anti-choice. They're not trying to offer love. They're trying to offer intimidation. But they have a right to be heard. The point is, they don't have the right to be heard by obstructing the pathways, harassing women as they're making a very private, personal choice, and then to harangue them as they come out of the clinics as well. And what these buffer zones do is why we need national legislation, because it does need to be consistent, is it strikes absolutely the right balance between their freedom of speech to promote the views that they hold and often the misinformation that they are providing to people, and for women to be able to exercise their right to choice in peace. And I would love to see, if Andrew really feels that, I do hope that he's going to be starting protests outside, for example, vasectomy clinics, because abortion is one of the few practices where we don't allow women to make that choice for themselves in their own personal nature. And yet there are other procedures which may indeed stop children being born. So if you want to be a promoter of equality, Andrew, I hope that you are going to be starting protests outside vasectomy clinics. Except I doubt that you will, because the reality of this is it's not about love. It is about controlling a woman's right to choose. And we should have absolutely no truck with it. We should do what these buffer zones are doing, which is to help strike the right balance between where these people are allowed to express their views and the rights of women not to be harassed and intimidated.
Andrew?
There are no changes to the laws relating to abortion.
Yes,
none
there
of them, none of them are proposed. The women have the right to make an informed choice about their pregnancy.
But who's to say they're not informed before they arrive?
And who's to say they are? And all these people
Why
are
you
doing.
second-guessing?
All these people
Why
are
are you
doing.
second-guessing people taking
no, I
that
let you
particular
speak,
medical
Stella. You can
procedure?
talk over me. What would you like to say?
I'd like to know why you're second-guessing women having an abortion, that they don't know the choices that they're making, but you're not, for example, second-guessing men having a vasectomy.
Just very briefly respond to that, very briefly.
If there are demonstrations outside vasectomy clinics, that's perfectly fine. Are there, Stella? Are you going to organise them too?
Okay.
Well, thank you very much. Neither am I.
We are out of time.
Neither am
We
I.
are out of time for this section, but we'll, again, revisit this when it is discussed in Parliament, I'm sure.